next question. When it comes to debt, it's this subject, it's this concept that so many people speak about, but it causes so much confusion because on one side you hear people being like, oh, there's such thing as good debt, yada, yada, yada. And there's people like, there's such extreme, they're like, yo, all debt is bad debt. And I think there's this concept where like you have to understand what debt does for you. Come to find out, as a business owner, banks love giving money out. You know, so let's talk about it, man. Is there such thing as good debt and bad debt, and how are you looking at it, and how do you advise your clients when it comes to it?
Yes, so there's definitely a difference between good debt and bad debt. There's a bunch of different factors we could actually talk about, but the main thing with me is I try to make sure my clients have a plan if they're going to take out any type of debt, right? That includes student loans, that, you know, business loan, any type of loan. I always try to make sure you have a plan, because to me, the only bad debt is really any debt without a plan. You know, just taking a loan just to take it, or if you're spending on a credit card just to spend, then that's when it ends up being a bad debt. Any debt you take, make sure you have a plan to pay it back, or, you know, some type of revenue coming in from it. I'm glad you mentioned business loans, right? So when you're, you know, going to a bank, you know, to look for a business loan, number one, you definitely want to make sure you have a business plan, a tangible business plan that you can speak to a loan officer about, that you can give to a loan officer, that he can read and analyze. And, you know, it's very easy for him to understand. That's definitely the number one thing. Two, if you have any tangible assets, you know, in the business already, a lot of loan officers love to see that you have some type of backing in the business already. They'll be more willing to, you know, give you more loan options. And then number three is definitely your credit. They look at your personal credit. It's a common misconception that you can just have terrible credit and, you know, you can somehow, you know, build up your business credit, but banks look at your personal credit. So you always want to make sure you protect your personal credit in any endeavor.
No, that's real. I remember when we were in my first business, we were getting our business credit cards, right? And the very first thing on that application was like, what's your social security number?
Exactly.
What do you got going on with your payments? If you can't take care of your stuff on the personal side, ain't no way on earth you're about to take care of stuff on the business side.
Exactly.
Right? So I love the fact that you brought that up. It could be argued that not everybody feels that entrepreneurship is their calling, which is fine. I get that, right? I think everybody should be some form of entrepreneur. Doesn't mean you got to be out here knocking on 100 doors a day. What are your thoughts when it comes to like at least having some form of a business organization to everybody kind of explore, kind of going down that route when it comes to debt, taking it on so that they could do something that, you know, ultimately does pay it off, or not, just like cut it?
I mean, my whole thing with that is if you're not totally convinced that you can take on the debt, then I wouldn't do it. People have, you know, their different conceptions about being an entrepreneurship, and they might say, oh, you know, it's not for me. But later down the line, you know, they might do something as a hobby that eventually they start making some money off. And then they realize, hey, I can actually scale this, you know, and do something I enjoy. So I always say, you know, if you feel like entrepreneurship isn't for you right now, that's okay. But people usually always realize, you know, later down the line that they can, you know, they might fall in love with a certain type of business, or they can take a hobby that they like and, you know, turn it into something of entrepreneurship. It's really about being able to take that on, you know, mentally.
So Zane, I think just backpedaling a little bit, I think that there are a lot of people as well who, you know, they tend to think of credit as something that universally, this is a symbol of your status. And I think that the discrepancy comes in as well because there's plenty of financial literacy out there, but I just think a lot of people may not know how to find those resources.